welcome to Book Chat with the Library Ladies.
I'm Shannon.
I'm Brooke, and this month we are reviewing the classic blockbuster Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton.
Let's get started. What did you like best about this book?
Well, I liked that the book reads like a map. Like you come into the story, and they're coming over the park and looking at it from an aerial view, and then once the people get on the ground, it almost feels like they're trying to make their way from one end to the next. And they don't say east or west, left or right, but it has that feel to it. And also it was really compelling. It's a quick read. And what did you like best?
Well, I read this book before and I loved it. That's why I suggested it for this talk. The beginning of it starts out pretty slow, but then the momentum picks up like an avalanche. You know, you're going from like the tour. You went into it, they're like looking, like where's the animals, and then by the end they're like, you know, trying not to be eaten by the animals, and so it just kept going. So what did you like least about this book?
Actually, one of the things probably people like a lot about the book annoyed me, and that was Ian Malcolm, the mathematician. He's in a delirium throughout most of the book, and he goes into these like soapbox kind of preachy moments, which he always has a valid point, and you know, of course he's very intellectual, but I also felt like as the author was writing it, he wasn't totally with a mind to how a person in delirium would speak. He was more like trying to get points across, and I also felt like when I keep wanting to say Jeff Goldblum, Ian Malcolm, when he's having an argument with the creator of the park, Hammond. Hammond jumps in with this thing about global warming, and it seemed out of place. So it almost seemed like he was using the character to compel an argument that that character wouldn't necessarily speak of. So what did you like least?
You brought up Jeff Goldblum from the film, and the film is obviously what I watched first, or before the book, I guess, and so you go into the book with expectations, and the book and the film, they had some similarities, but then they had some vast differences. So you always have that little bit of a letdown, but the book's still better.
Yeah.
And the ending of the book and the movie are not the same, but they both worked.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the movie, because it's been probably since it very first came out that I've watched it, and when I read the book, I saw Sam Neill's face and Jeff Goldblum's face and the kids that play the kids. It's just, there's no way to read it without picturing the actors.
Their faces, their voices, they are Jurassic Park. Okay, what other books did this remind you of?
This reminds me of like the typical sci-fi fantasy genre quest books, like, you know, for example, Lord of the Rings trilogy. It also reminded me a lot of Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth, because they're in a perilous land, just kind of trying to get through it. And you?
I haven't read any other dinosaur books except for The Lost World, which is the sequel to this book. The books are, like I said, this movie follows this book fairly well, but The Lost World is nothing like the book. Both are amazing, but they're nothing alike, other than a few touch characters and the title.
Interesting.
Yeah, both were. Just read it if you haven't.
Okay, yeah.
Which characters in the book did you like the best?
I liked Gennaro. He was the financer, and he came to the park with the intention of shutting it down. He had gotten a growing feeling that it was going to be a disaster. And I guess you kind of expect him being a money man to, like, he's going to be a schmuck in the book. And he actually, to me, was the one who seemed most human, and most relatable, because he has reservations about everything, but he kind of ends up, like, his conscience gets the best of him quite a few times, and he ends up doing what needs to be done, basically because there's no way else to do it. So he was probably, and also they kind of bust on him, like, toward the end, and he just kind of takes it, like, they berate him and they say, oh, you know, you did this, you did this, you did this, and while it may be true, like, still he kind of helped them all through it, and, you know, here they are, big macho guys, they get to be the heroes, and so anyway, I just felt for him quite a bit, and I liked Tim the kid a lot, mostly because he was only like 10 or whatever, and he's a vulnerable character, like, you know, thin and intellectual, and he had like a fear of heights, and like a really bad injury. He's like hanging upside down in a tree in a car, but he doesn't dwell on anything, he doesn't break up, he just kind of just gets through everything, and they don't really dwell on any of it, and he ends up being the unsung hero that gets the computer back on board in the park
to help them ultimately escape.
Yeah. And which characters were your favorite?
I chose the obvious ones: Ellie Sattler, Alan Grant, and Ian Malcolm, because without them, the story definitely wouldn't be the story that we know.
Yeah. I really liked Ellie Sattler too. She was one of my favorite ones. I liked their track star moment, breakout. Yeah.
Which characters did you like the least?
Let's see. I didn't like Lex that much.
I agree.
The child, the younger sister in the movie, she's the older sister. In the book, she's the younger sister, and she just I don't know. It's like she was written a little too cutesy for me. That always annoys me with books and movies. Like, yeah.
I'm not really sure that her character in the book really pushed the story in any level. She was just kind of...
Yeah, well, it was almost like she was comic relief, but, like, it wasn't a comedy. Yeah.
I chose the grandfather, John Hammond, because he was focused by ambition and not reality, and he was really the one behind the creation of the park. And with as much money as he has, he could have created this park with animatronics, and nobody would have gotten eaten.
Absolutely, yeah. He's deplorable and delusional.
Yes. I guess you've not read any other books by this author?
No, I haven't. I would. He probably won't be right at the top of my pile, but I would definitely read him again. Yeah. You?
Yeah, I have several of his on my to-be-read pile. From what I've read on his website, this is The Lost World is the only sequel book he wrote, so all of his other books are standalones. So. What did you think of the book's length?
I thought it was good, adequate, you know, like...
It's like 400 pages, but once, at least for me, once I got past the first few chapters, it flew.
Definitely. What did you think of the cover?
My cover's slightly different than yours, but I liked how, I think this is like the original cover, and this book is 32 years old now. Yours is more based on the movie poster with the, I think in the movie this is kind of a sash welcoming you into the first room in the park.
Mm.
But you can still tell because they all have the silhouette of the T-Rex. And there's a couple other covers that are out there because it's been reprinted multiple times. And they pretty much all stay true. There's always the silhouette of a dinosaur.
Yeah, and that T-Rex causes a lot of trouble, so it makes sense that he would be featured. Yeah, I particularly like the emblem, because it like it's used in the movie, like it would be all over merchandise, which it was in the real world too. Um, but yeah, and at first I was like, well, they wouldn't want to show dinosaur bones because these are real dinosaurs, but they probably would because there would be buzz and you wouldn't even realize that you're gonna see real dinosaurs until you were inside the gates because this was a very expensive park to visit.
Exclusive, yeah.
Yeah.
If you had a chance to ask the author of this book one question, what would it be?
Oh, I would wonder when his inspiration to read it started, kind of. Like, did he have an obsession with bored dinosaurs?
I looked up on michaelcrichton.com. It originally started out as a screenplay, and he started that in 1980, and then he started to write a novel, and he had sent it to several different people, and they all hated the novel, and they kept throwing back, and then he changed the point of view of the main characters in the novel and sent it to Steven Spielberg, and then he is the one that kind of pushed him to go ahead and turn it back into the screenplay, because before the book was actually published, Steven Spielberg was trying to get it made into a movie. The book was published in 1990. The movie came out in 1993.
Oh wow.
So.
Yeah. I had a question and it went out of my mind. Sorry.
That's not a problem. Let's move forward. Which character in the book would you most like to meet?
Oh, I know what I was gonna say.
Okay.
I was gonna say you had brought up that he was a Harvard grad.
Yep.
So he uses a lot of technical information in this book, as you do in a sci-fi book. And then when you said he was a Harvard grad, then that made a lot of sense to me. He probably talked to a lot of professors and whatnot.
He was a Harvard College and a Harvard medical school graduate, I believe.
Medical school, see, that makes sense too. Okay, and then the next question.
Which character in the book would you most like to meet?
Oh, I think we agreed on this one, and it's a really quirky. While all the scientists would all be fascinating to talk to, we both would be most amused by John Hammond, who was the park's creator. I found him actually pretty funny. He kind of didn't care too much about his grandkids who were like out, getting chased by T-Rex, but
well, he was very narrow-sighted. He was just focused on that park.
Yeah, and that makes his demise so much better. Like, it's really like almost a comical ending. Like,
but you'll have to read the book to find out.
Yeah, we won't tell you.
Which place in the book would you most like to visit?
The whole thing. Yeah, without the
T-Rex eating you.
Yeah, without threat to my life.
What do you think about the book's title?
Can't imagine any other one.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. I mean, Jurassic, everybody's going to think about dinosaurs, so covered, and then park, you're going to think Disneyland, Dollywood, Busch Gardens.
Yep.
So I don't think it could be a different title.
Did you find an illustrator that, if you were going to illustrate the book, that you would like?
Yep. When I did my Google search, I had in my head kind of what I wanted. I didn't find exactly that, of course. I found Elaine Beneteau, and his work is published in numerous books and scientific papers worldwide, and he is known as a paleo artist.
Okay, very nice. It's sort of like a computer generated, a lot of almost terrifying things happening, but like a realistic background. Nice. I was looking actually through the Journey to the Center of the Earth pictures online because I like that old illustration look. And I actually came across something completely different that I liked. This artist is named Killian Eng, and this is almost like a cartoon, but I really like the pop of color that he uses, I believe. And he was on Pinterest, and he had a lot of different pictures, and he seems to delve in landscapes, like fantastical landscapes, and I thought he was really cool.
I like that. I like the darkness of it, which is kind of what I was trying to find with what I had in my head. But it also makes me think of their pretty much the opening scene where the dinosaurs are first kind of entered the story. Yes, it was Harvard College and Harvard Medical School. How original or unique did you find this book to be?
Oh, well, essentially, I think it's Frankenstein, but with dinosaurs. However, with that said, it's brilliant to make it about dinosaurs. Yeah.
I haven't read anything else quite like that. I didn't have anything other than The Lost World to compare it to, so I did a novel list plus search and did Rita Likes for Jurassic Park, and we will put that on our Facebook for if you're interested in reading similar kind of themed books.
Great.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just cheers to another great read.
And we'll see you soon.